Hello, I'm Joseph Mechavich with Kentucky Opera, and welcome to the Brown-Forman 2018-2019 season at the Brown. And here we are at the Gist Piano Center, a wonderful piano and a wonderful environment so I can connect with you about these operas that we'll be presenting this season. The first opera is known to many, many people out there, beloved by many, Mozart's The Magic Flute. Now, Mozart composed this after taking a hiatus, a little break between, after composing the Da Ponte trilogy, which are Così fan tutte, Nozze da Figaro, and Don Giovanni, and he worked on his later symphonies and later piano concerti. And then he met up with his friend Emanuel Schikaneder, and they said, we got to do a show, something that is really going to speak to the people, something that's happening in Vienna right now, and it's called a Singspiel. So Magic Flute is not an opera, it's a Singspiel. What's the difference, you're asking me right now, is that opera is sung throughout and the Singspiel has spoken dialogue. So here, Mozart and Schikaneder are looking at their masses, they're looking at their public, they're looking as marketers, and let's put on a show for the people that's very popular in Vienna at the time. So they have the Singspiel called the Magic Flute. The Magic Flute premiered September 30th, 1791, 2 months before Herr Mozart passed away. He composed this in a different style and a different way, in a different manner than he did his other operas. He always worked very closely with his librettist. But here, in composing the Singspiel, the Magic Flute, he included the input of all the cast. So the cast was part of this construction. The cast was always giving their input. In fact, most of the writing was specific to each of the singers. Mozart did it with his other operas as well, but here he was catering to the strengths and weaknesses of some of the cast that he was working with in Vienna at the time. Now, the major question I have here, or I'd like to answer or look at, is why do we love Mozart so much? What makes him so good? Granted, he is a talent. Granted, it is a talent that is unearthly. In his time on this earth, he gave us so many beautiful pieces of music with amazing tunes of different emotions. He captured so much of humanity on his brief time here. But Mozart was living during a time where there was a recipe. There was always a way to put his ideas on paper during the classical period. So during the classical period, when you think of architecture, when you think of the visual arts, when you think of classical architecture and the classical visual arts in that style, you think of symmetry, and you think of balance, and you think of form. Those same three elements are in music as well. Symmetry, balance, and form. It's something called periodic phrase structure, which is sort of the basis to everything. And we know periodic phrase structure from when we were in English. And we were diagramming sentences. You'd have sentences like, if I wanted a bourbon, comma, I would have a Brown-Forman product, period. So that is the periodic phrase structure. And the same thing happens harmonically as well, right? So here's a tune from the Magic Flute, and you have the antecedent phrase. Oh, there's the big word, right? Okay, we start on the tonic and now we're somewhere else. So that's the antecedent phrase. That's if I wanted a bourbon, comma. Now the consequent phrase here in the music is so you have the antecedent phrase at the beginning, the consequent phrase that I just played, which is I would have a Brown-Forman product, and there you heard it in the music. And that's the sort of the nugget that begins the whole forms that Mozart would use as well. So that is part of how he was able to put all of his thoughts down on paper, as he had this structure to work with all the time. And composers always have this structure. They always have something that they're working with, or an idea in terms of the architecture of the phrase, the architecture of the movement, the architecture of the symphony, the architecture of the opera. It all has form to it. This piece, this Singspiel, die Zauberflöte, has folk melodies. We just heard folk melody there. We heard a folksy tune that I started with, both Papageno's. The original singer for Papageno in the premiere was not the strongest, so he had all the folk tunes. We have an amazing singer coming to sing Papageno for us here at Kentucky Opera. But Mozart also used some archaic styles as well, some set numbers. A numbered opera is something everyone knows. When there's a numbered opera, you have and you applaud. That happens throughout. And then in this case, in the Singspiel, it goes into dialogue. But he has more archaic forms, something grander that he used to compose, where you have a big, broad introduction. And this is the introduction that introduces the Queen of the Night. She starts to sing. So it's this big grand gesture that introduces a big grand character onto the stage. And this structure, this aria, starts with a recitative, and this is called recitative accompagnato, where the orchestra is accompanying the singer. And then it goes into the cavatina, which is a very slow part of the tune. It's part of the aria. It's the slow part of the aria. Again, it's called the cavatina. And then with all of these structures, you have the slow part, the cavatina, and then you have the fast part, which is the cabaletta. That's just a small sampling of Mozart's The Magic Flute, which opens the Brown Forman 2018-2019 season at the Brown Theater. I'd like to thank the Gist Piano Center for hosting this wonderful opportunity for me to connect with you.